The smell hits you before the light does. Beeswax, dried pine resin, ancient linen, and the faint sweetness of 3 centuries sealed in stone. Broken open last night, your bronze-shod staff goes in first. Cold in your grip, you lower it through the jagged hole where the cartouche seal was struck out. Your sandaled foot follows, stepping over a fragment of plaster onto the tomb floor. This is a Medjay officer, Western Thebes, 16th year of Ramesses IX. By sunset, 2 men confess under the rod. Gold lies on the scribe's table. The report you file becomes a weapon in a mayor's feud. Not a priest, not a soldier, you are a police officer. Everything you have been told about this day is incomplete. Today, we decode the real one. Western Thebes, in the year 16 of Ramesses IX. Today, the city is called Luxor, in southern Egypt, on the east bank of the Nile. Everything that matters this morning is on the west bank. The desert cliffs rise straight from the floodplain. Behind those cliffs, cut into the limestone, are more than 60 royal tombs. The kings and queens of 1,000 years lie in them. This is around 1110 BC, the late 20th Dynasty. Egypt is still Egypt, but the empire is fraying at the edges. Prices are rising. Grain shipments come late. Some of the tombs, everyone quietly knows, have already been broken into. The men who built those tombs live in a walled village at the foot of the cliffs. Deir el-Medina, 60 or 70 households, perhaps 400 people. The village is closed. Nobody goes in without a reason. Nobody comes out without an escort. Watching that village, watching the cliffs, watching every trail to the tombs is a standing force of roughly 60 officers. They wear leather strap kilts and carry bronze-shod staves. They are on permanent state salary, paid in grain, beer, oil, and cloth. They are the Medjay. And at the patrol post, before the sun has cleared the eastern cliffs, you are being handed a clay tablet. Last night, a tomb seal was broken. You have 8 hours of daylight to find out which one, who did it, and what they took. The room is gray, not dark, not light. Your wife is asleep. 2 of the 3 children are asleep. The oldest, a boy of 11, is already up and outside carrying the water jar. Breakfast is barley bread torn in half and pushed down into a shallow bowl of weak beer. The bread soaks. You eat it standing in the doorway, watching the sky over the eastern cliffs turn from gray to the color of dust. The beer is thin and sour. The cheese from the night before has hardened at the edges. You eat that too. Your linen kilt is stiff from yesterday's dust. You do not change it. The staff hangs from a peg driven into the mud brick beside the door. You take it down. The bronze at the tip is cold. The wood is warm from the wall. You have carried this staff for 11 years. The walk from your house to the patrol post is short. The workman's village of Deir el-Medina begins to wake around you. A door opens. A child cries and is quieted. Somewhere a dog barks once. Nobody speaks to you. You are Medjay. In this village, that means you are watched more than you watch. At the patrol post, the scribe Hori is already there. Hori is not Medjay. He is in his mid-40s. Thin, careful with his voice, he carries his reed pen case at his hip the way another man carries a knife. The tablet in his hand is small, clay, still slightly damp. 2 junior officers are saddling donkeys. Hori looks at you and holds up the tablet, and up on the western cliffs, a tomb that has been sealed for over 100 years is no longer sealed. The causeway up to the Valley of the Queens is limestone rubble, packed hard by centuries of feet and hooves. Your donkey knows it. The 2 junior officers ride behind you. Hori rides last, the tablet wrapped in cloth against his chest. The sun is fully up now. The cliffs ahead are the color of old bone. The tomb entrance is halfway up the slope, cut into the rock behind a low retaining wall. The plaster seal has been broken, a jagged hole the width of a man's shoulders. Around the hole, fragments of plaster lie where they fell. On one fragment, part of the royal cartouche is still legible. An unnamed queen sealed here 100 years ago. You go in first. The staff enters ahead of you. The oil lamp Hori hands through the hole catches the walls. The painted hieroglyphs come alive in the light. Red and gold and lapis blue, still bright. The chamber has been worked over carefully, not smashed. Worked, that tells you something before you have read anything else. The linen wrappings are sliced open, not torn. Whoever did this used a bronze knife with a fine edge and knew exactly where to cut. The gold leaf on the coffin fragments has been scraped away with something narrow and flat, a chisel of the kind kept in the workshop of Deir el-Medina. The tool marks on the limestone at the entrance match the same set. Hori kneels beside you on the chamber floor. He opens his reed pen case and lays the papyrus flat across his thighs. He does not look at what remains of the body wrapped in the sliced linen. That is not what he is here to record. He is recording the crime. You start naming things aloud, one at a time, so he can write. The staff rests upright against the chamber wall, its bronze tip pointed at the ceiling. By the time you leave the tomb, you have two names in your head. Both men live within 100 paces of your own house, and in the worker village, behind closed doors, the gold from this tomb is already being broken into pieces small enough to spend. If you're still with me here, I owe you a small confession. The trial he's about to run this afternoon looks nothing like what you'd imagine when you hear the words pharaonic justice. It looks like something a lot more familiar and a lot more uncomfortable. Hit subscribe and stay with me. You cross the courtyard to the covered chamber against the eastern wall. Your staff goes into the packed dust upright, bronze pushed into the earth. That is where the interrogation is done. The room is small. The light is hard. Two suspects are brought in. Both are workmen from Deir el-Medina. Both live within 100 paces of your own house. You have known one of them since he was a boy. Hori sits against the wall, papyrus flat on his lap. His reed pen is inked. His hand is steady. The first suspect denies everything. You ask 3 times. He denies 3 times. The junior officers lay him on his back. The rod comes down on the soles of his feet. You do not watch the impact. You watch his face. You watch his breath change. You watch Hori's pen continuing to move. The leather on the junior officer's kilts creaks faintly. That is the loudest sound in the room. He confesses to nothing. The second suspect is brought in. He watches the first man carried out. He confesses before the rod is lifted. He admits to receiving a small piece of gold leaf. He refuses to name the source. A junior officer unrolls the suspect's belt. Wrapped in a fold of the linen is a fragment of gold leaf no wider than a fingernail. Hori writes it down. You already know the source. You have known all morning. But the report you file tonight will not be read as evidence of a crime. It will be read tonight in the house of Pharaohs, the mayor of West Thebes. Tomorrow, it will be read across the river in the house of Peet, the mayor of East Thebes. Pharaohs wants this report. Peet will use whatever it does not contain. At dusk, the suspect is taken away. The fragment of gold is locked in a cedar box. Hori is still writing. You have one task left. Walk home, past every house where the rest of the gold is hidden, and pretend not to know. The walk home is 9 minutes. You know because you have made it every day for 11 years. The sun is low over the western cliffs. The limestone goes rose, then dust, then gray. You pass the house of the second suspect. His wife is at the door. She does not look at you. 2 doors down, the mud oven is still warm. Bread was baked here this afternoon. Bread paid for in gold leaf. You know that. She knows you know. You greet 3 men outside 3 houses. You call each of them by name. Each returns the greeting. Your own door is open. Your youngest daughter is inside, 4 years old, running to you before you have set the staff against the wall. You set it against the wall. The papyrus case Hori gave you goes on the shelf beside the door. Supper is warm, goat milk cheese, onions, and barley bread. She presses her face against your shoulder. Your wife has not asked about your day. She will not. The smell of the tomb is still in your hair. You eat. Outside, in one of the houses you passed, a floor tile is being lifted. Under it, gold is being hidden. Tomorrow, another tablet will come. That is the day. The report you filed tonight survives. It is in the British Museum, and almost no one outside of Egyptology knows what it actually proves. Decoded number 1. Egypt had a real police force, older than Rome by 1,000 years. Here's what you were probably taught about ancient policing, that it started with Rome, that before Rome, states ruled through priests, through fear, through the arbitrary will of a king. Egypt, in particular, gets remembered as a religious autocracy with a lot of gold and no due process. None of that is true. The Medjay were a professional state police force. They had military ranks. They had permanent salaries paid in grain, beer, oil, and cloth. They lived in dedicated worker villages. Their jurisdiction was defined by law. They policed the royal necropolis, the desert borders, and the major state construction sites. They were founded in the Middle Kingdom around 2000 BC, recruited originally from Nubian populations south of Egypt. By the New Kingdom, they were fully absorbed into the permanent state apparatus. That's 1,000 years before Rome invented the urban cohorts everyone credits as the world's first police. And centuries later, Nubian pharaohs themselves would sit on the Egyptian throne. But that's another story. Decoded number 2. It was an industry, not a theft. Here's what popular history tells you about tomb robbers: that they were desperate loners, lucky opportunists, men who stumbled into a pharaoh's chamber, grabbed what they could, and ran. The evidence says something completely different. The tomb robbery papyri are a set of surviving legal documents from the late 20th Dynasty. Abbott, Mayer A. Mayer B. Amherst, Salt 124. They are the oldest preserved criminal case files in the world, and they describe an industry. One case names 45 accomplices. In a village of 400 people, multi-generational family businesses, fencing networks running for decades, gold from royal tombs melted down, broken into small pieces, and reinvested into beer halls, houses, and land. The people robbing the tombs were the same people who had built them. They knew the locations, they knew the seals, they knew what was inside. T. Eric Peet published the standard scholarly edition of these papyri in 1930. It has been the reference edition for nearly a century. The Abbott Papyrus is in the British Museum. You can look at it. This afternoon's report is part of that same corpus. Decoded. Number 3. Egypt had the rule of law with all its modern flaws. Here's the reveal that changes the picture. Egyptian courts used torture, the soles of the feet, the palms of the hands. It's in the papyri, described in legal detail as a routine part of interrogation. The word for it in later languages is bastinado. It was not exceptional. It was standard procedure. Egyptian courts were also politically weaponized. The trials documented in the Abbot Papyrus were not neutral. They were the ammunition in a personal feud between two mayors, Pawara, mayor of West Thebes, Pesur, mayor of East Thebes. Each accused the other's constituents of corruption. Each used the courts to attack the other. And here's the twist. Many of these cases were thrown out for lack of physical evidence, even after confessions had been beaten out of the accused. That's not barbarism. That's not mysticism. That's not exotic. That's the rule of law, 3,000 years ago, complete with all of its modern flaws. Torture, political prosecution, acquittals for insufficient evidence, coexisting in the same system. The ancient world was not another planet. It was uncomfortably close to this one. The lamp in your house has been blown out. The room is dark, except for the faint red of the cooking embers. Your daughter is asleep against your side. Your wife is asleep on the other side of the room. Outside, the worker village is quiet. Beside your door, the Medjay staff leans against the mud brick wall. The bronze at the tip catches the last of the ember light. Beside it, the papyrus case Hori gave you tonight sits on the shelf. The report inside that case will not stay in Deir el-Medina. 3,100 years from now, it will sit behind glass in London. The city has not been founded yet. The empire that will excavate it does not exist yet. The queen whose tomb you entered this morning has no name that anyone alive today can read. But the report will still be readable. Every name, every confession, every fragment of evidence, every detail of the rod against the foot. The report you wrote tonight is one page in a stack of case files. 3,000 years later, those files will be called the Tomb-Robbery papyri. You did the work correctly. That is the trade you made. The last ember goes dark.